Welcome, fellow Stardust. Are you ready for a scare? I see you've come back for more. If you're new here, buckle up. And thank you all for joining me today. My name is DeRay, aka Rainbow Fright, lover of all things dark, creepy, and weird. Today's movie review will be on thriller Gerald's Game.
I bet you think your husband will be back any minute. Try to go for him. There's no one for miles.
Gerald?
I'm sorry, baby. You don't get to know my name.
I don't like this. I'm serious. Stop.
I like that.
Stop it!
Are you playing?
Is this really what it takes these days?
God, how do we go so wrong? We were happy once, weren't we?
Gerald?
What?
What's happening?
Oh.
Gerald!
This month's subscriber request comes from good friend and fellow entrepreneur Wesley Smoot, creator and marketing director for Unleash LGBTQ. Wes has been a huge supporter of me and my endeavors way before I started a YouTube, so when I started on this venture, it was no different. Check out his website to learn more about Unleash LGBTQ, a convention that creates a space for brands, entertainers, and the LGBT community to connect and to get the scoop on the latest LGBTQ services and products that are on the market. I'll leave links down below so you can check that out. And thank you, Wes, for another subscriber request. Last year, Wes requested that I review 1408, one of my absolute favorite films, so if he hadn't requested it, it was going to be reviewed anyway. And like 1408, Gerald's Game is being called one of Stephen King's best adaptations by his hardcore fans. And while I am a Stephen King fan, I haven't read all of his novels, so I can't really do a good comparison between the novels and the films. However, after doing a little bit of digging around, it seems as though Gerald's Game was one of the books nobody thought could be adapted into a film, but somehow Mike Flanagan managed to do it. In this story, Jessie, played by Carla Gugino, goes on a weekend holiday with her husband, Gerald, played by Bruce Greenwood, to their cabin in the woods. In an effort to spice up their sex life, Gerald handcuffs her to the bed, but after taking some Viagra, he has a heart attack and dies, leaving Jessie to figure out how to escape from the handcuffs. For the rest of the film, we watch Jessie slowly lose her mind as she speaks to her dead husband and a version of herself. As she goes into survival mode, she begins to have flashbacks which take her to moments of child abuse. Trigger warning, there is mention of sexual abuse in this film. In the book, instead of talking to her dead husband, she is talking to her therapist, her old college roommate, and a version of herself again who she calls the good wife. But instead of adding new characters to the story, Mike Flanagan wanted to explore the relationship more between Jessie and Gerald, and I think this was a good decision. At 19, after reading this novel, Mike had hoped that one day he could turn it into a film. So he would for 20 years carry this novel with him everywhere he went, especially to writing meetings, in the hopes that one day somebody would ask him what his dream project would be. As for my feelings for the film, I really enjoyed it up until the very end. This was a second time watch for me, and I pretty much knew what was going to happen throughout the film, but I could not remember the ending, and it bugged me the whole time. But when I finally got to the end of the film, I remembered why it was so unmemorable. I feel like the film should have ended when the car crash happened, but I'll get a little bit more into that here in just a bit. But up until then, I had a good time witnessing Jessie's downward spiral. This was an intriguing look into these characters created by Stephen King. Jessie's suppressed memories of her father's abuse were overshadowed by the eclipse that occurred that same night. Her memory is jogged when Gerald calls her by her childhood nickname, Mouse. What's really cool about this eclipse that Jessie sees at her lake house in 1963 is that it is the same eclipse that Dolores Claiborne sees when she pushes her husband into the well in Stephen King's novel Misery, another one of my absolute favorite films ever. Mike Flanagan doesn't really highlight this connection too much in the film, but Jessie does mention a vision where she's in a well and sees a woman standing outside of it who is Dolores Claiborne. So any hardcore Stephen King fan who reads his novels would recognize that Easter egg. I also really enjoyed this lighting technique that Mike uses for dramatic effect. When fading out of a scene, he has the set lights go off instead of a regular fade to black. I believe he also does this in Midnight Mass, which I still have about 2 episodes to finish. And it kind of reminds me of a play, but it's not too hokey. Another nice little touch that made me smile was when a fly goes into imaginary Gerald's mouth. It's little things like that that get me giddy and let me know that Mike doesn't take things too seriously and can have a little fun. To add to that, there's a line that Jessie's father says after their eclipse moment that made me chuckle despite the horrific thing we just witnessed. Jessie's father explains to her that he doesn't know what came over him and that it must have been the eclipse. So he says something like, "Thank God I'll never see one of those again." It was just ridiculously hilarious to me. So this next little bit might be a little bit spoily, so I'll give you a second to click out if you'd like. Of course, a favorite part of mine is when Jessie decides her method of escape from the handcuffs. The practical effects were just brilliant. I was cringing the whole time, but I could not take my eyes off of it. It was perfectly done. So to touch a little bit more on the ending, let's talk about the Moonlight Man, played by Carol Schuyken, who has a very long resume that includes the Addams Family movies and Dr. Sleep as Grandpa Flick. This was a character I was intrigued by from the first time I saw him. He was someone I instantly wanted to watch an entire movie about. I just think for me, it would have been better had he stayed a mysterious entity who we didn't know anything about. At the start of the film, we hear news reports on the radio about bodies being exhumed from their graves, and it all ties in the end with him being the culprit, and we also find out that he is a serial killer and necrophiliac. And for whatever reason, he decides to spare Jessie even after getting a taste of her big toe. Having the last 10 minutes explain who he is kind of took away a bit of his creep factor. And while in real life, serial killers and necrophiliacs are scary for sure, but this just seemed like 2 completely different stories for me, and that caused me to disengage a bit, which was unfortunate. Mike stays pretty true to the ending in the book with a few tweaks here and there, so I can't really blame him for this. It's just strange that Stephen King decided to have this Moonlight Man, aka the Space Cowboy, have this whole narrative that didn't quite fit into this story about a woman overcoming child abuse. Another negative would sometimes be the cinematography, especially at the very end. A lot of Mike's work has this lifetimey glamour shot glow to it that just doesn't really sit well with me. I think it bugs me most with interior shots and when there's just a flood of light. However, this is a movie I would recommend if you haven't seen it already and if you're a fan of Stephen King and Mike Flanagan. Gerald's Game earns 3.5 Rainbow Skulls, and you can watch this one right now on Netflix. And before I wrap this video up, I wanted to update y'all about my subscriber requests. As I mentioned before, I wanted to switch up how I do them. So I've decided that I'm only going to take requests from my patrons who sign up for my Patreon page. As of right now, I have 2 tiers, and the first tier is only $2. And with that, you'll be able to participate in polls, get your name in the credits, as well as put in your review requests and be added to my Discord chat room. The second tier, which is $4 a month, will get you access to all of those perks, as well well as exclusive content and regular movie nights. So check out the link below if you want to learn more. I am currently not monetized, so everything I create I am doing for free. And because of the nature of my content, I may never be monetized, and it's going to be a long time before I can get any brand deals. So any help from people who enjoy my content is greatly appreciated and will be used to help me make more and even better content. I do this full time and it means everything to me. These last couple of months have been hard to stay consistent because Brandon and I have big changes coming. It seems like we've always got big changes coming every year, which I welcome because I'm all for the excitement of something new, especially after the big C word, not trying to get demonetized. Things have just been evolving pretty quickly for us and it's all been super exciting. It just sucks that for the second year in a row, I'm going to be on the road and busy with a bunch of different things around October, but I'm still working hard on making sure I get out some good Halloween content for y'all. Well, thank you again for joining me today, fellow Stardust. I appreciate you being here with me. Had some last minute changes, so sliding this on in here. Next week, I'll be back with my review of Nope. And the week after that, I will be doing a special collaboration video with Chris from Strange Monkey Reviews. We will be watching for the first time and reacting to the movie Cysts. After we premiere that video, we will then be doing a live chat about the film. So we hope you join us and let us know your thoughts on this nasty little movie. And that'll happen on Friday, July 29th at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and hop on the Rainbow Fright freight train and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell. That way you'll get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you liked this video, please hit the like button and share it with a friend. I hope I see you next time. Peace.